Hello everyone, and welcome back to the continuation of the Antichess tutorial series. We left off a couple weeks ago. These have actually been some of my largest videos, so I thought, why not continue it? Number 4 was the Antichess openings for beginners. A lot of you have seen that one. Number 5 was the intermediate one. That one I feel like is just as important. You see intermediates in every single game you play above 1900. And so now we're moving on to part 6. And originally I wasn't going to have this as the part 6, but so many people have actually been requesting it, whether in comments or it's a question I often get in my message box or my PMs. But today we're going to be going over how to study and improve upon your anti-chess games. And so I thought this might be a little bit of a longer video, but what better way to do this than to go through what I would actually do studying these games. So other than that, hope you enjoy this video. Please subscribe because I continue to look at that thing. I need to put like a picture up one day, but it's like 70% of people aren't subscribed, and it's just crazy. I'm like, what? Why? Just subscribe? Okay, but whatever. So basically, yeah, I was just going to go over how I study my games and how I try to improve upon them. And these have often worked for me, but obviously you've got to find what works for you as well. So basically, the first thing is you need a little bit of experience. You need to play some games. You need some games to base off of. And so, for example, yesterday the weekly Anti-Chess Arena was on. I wasn't going to be there the whole time, but I was able to play. I was able to play quite a few games. I think 16 in total. And so that was fun. First of all, also congratulations to these players, Juice, Arun, and Royal Desperation, for coming top 3 in the weekly. It was really fun. But yeah, anyways, I was able to play some games, so able to analyze. So the first thing I always do is, regardless of how easily I won that game, whether I won it after 8 moves and they resigned or whatever, I like to go back and look at it, find the things I did wrong, find the things I did right. And although this doesn't always seem like the best thing to do, I always request a computer analysis if I'm studying games. Often Stockfish will actually be wrong in a lot of the things, but it's just if I make a massive blunder, I always find it good to try and find a better move than that. Often Stockfish will often recommend a good move, maybe not always the best move, but I always like finding a better move than what I'm doing. The only problem with this, for some people and for me definitely, is it calls b6, or like it calls a lot of opening things blunders, as we went through the last opening video. Stockfish doesn't really know openings that well, so every time it's like I'm reviewing all my mistakes, my blunders, and my inaccuracies, it always asks me to find a better move than b6, which is fine. It only takes a second or two. But anyways, if you look down here, you can look at my inaccuracies, my mistakes, my blunders, and centipon loss, which is basically per move how many centipons are you losing. So I think if I'm not incorrect, it just means per move I'm losing 0.7 of an advantage, whereas my opponent's losing a full point of advantage. And when we look at something like this, I think that's what it is. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But anyways, in this first game against Matthew Pradijugador, I'm sorry if I butchered that. Before I even look at the game, first thing I do is learn from my mistakes. So, as I said, Stockfish asks you to find a better move, so I just note e6 is there. In this position, it doesn't like that I've gone there. I'm afraid Stockfish is recommending a queen race, which I don't love queen races. I would much prefer this move. Especially against a player rated below me, I would rather not have it turn more into luck. I'd rather have it more of like a steady game. But I'll check and see if this is it. Stockfish says no. It could actually be this, take the knight, but I also like keeping my rook there. I can't imagine it being that, but maybe it is. It says this is drawn, so maybe it's like that. Nope, it says no. Okay, so it suggests taking on g1, and after this I just look, okay, what are the best options? The thing I was worried about after this was queen takes h7, but after, I guess, rook takes, and then I take a takes, rook takes, now my rook's on an open file. This is the only move for black. We do something like this. we probably see something like the king moving up, takes, and this is a nice position for me. However, if we go back to this original position, I think this position just looks completely fine as well, because it's not always easy to defend positions like this. So I look at this position, and after the game I'll definitely go through the rest of the game, but I look at it and think, okay, I don't think this was like a fatal inaccuracy on my part. But anyways, I look at this position now, and my guess is I probably missed something like this, but I could be wrong. I think, okay, no. The reason I played this move is because I wanted to set up a lot of captures. Maybe it's something like, maybe it's something like king d8, because then I don't protect that, or maybe it's king d6. There it is. Okay, so king d6, because if c4, then I can play king d5, and then I can play these moves. I guess before, after this move, c4 is possible, because I have to give up one of these pawns, for example, like this. I guess it's still mate, but it's much more difficult. But yeah, so anyways, king d8 was played. It's a better move. Maybe knight g4 is good. No, I was thinking that could be a possibility. And if you continue trying and you can't find anything, you can always click view the solution. For example, I probably would not have played f5 there. It looks good, but I don't know. It's just not something that I would look for quickly in a position. So anyways, that comes to the end of the analysis, and now I actually just go through the game. So I see e3, b6. So I'm happy with all of this opening. Knight takes a2 is certainly strong. Bishop takes. I'm playing this all correctly. And this is another reason to show why Stockfish isn't crazy, because originally it didn't even have bishop a3 up there. It had rook b8, the strongest by far, but now I play this and all of a sudden I have a massive advantage. So bishop a3, in this position, queen g5 is recommended. I like this bishop move right here, just because then I can play queen g4 after. I get my queen into a nice position over here. The queen comes down, then I capture. So I'm looking at this now. I'm like, okay, I like this. The reason I also like this capture is because I'm definitely expecting one of these two moves. Probably from a 1300 player, I'm expecting this move. So then I can capture here, get rid of both these pieces, advance my pawn, and now this rook is to my opponent is probably going to give up the rook, and now I just have advanced pawns. Eventually, what this c3 move does is it doesn't allow this knight to move out of any place, so I move my rook, which allows me to push this pawn. Knight e3 is the only move, and now I have this really nice position. So yeah, so that's the first game. I'll go into the second game, and maybe I won't do this for every single game, but we go through like this, and I can already tell the players playing against just said I just never see those tactics, and I replied intermediates. Intermediates are very cool. Anyways, one other thing that I should say is I often don't check Stockfish or the engine in between games, unless it's like really important. Like unless I think I'm losing, and I never check any other engine. Like I don't check very many engines in between games. I think it's better to do it afterwards, unless it's like you're completely lost in the opening. You're like, okay, like before I lose to this person 6 more times in the tournament, I think it's important that I check this. I always recommend also just putting yourself on pause if you're in a tournament before you check. But anyways, let's learn from our mistakes. So we came to a Stjeng position, I can tell already. It doesn't like b4, maybe it likes that knight move, bring the queen out. I think there was only one move in this position. It might have been like rook g8, or rook g1, or rook f1. I was afraid of this move, because I thought after something like knight takes, see, I wasn't looking at f takes. I was looking at this, and then bishop takes e1, and then this just looks terrible. So that's why I played h3. So it doesn't like this capture. Maybe it likes king captures. Yeah, it does, because after knight takes F takes, queen takes. The only problem with this is my king's pretty vulnerable, and I can only move it back 1 square because otherwise my bishop's done. So that's all the mistakes. Again, not a terrible center pawn loss, especially compared to my opponents, but still something you can definitely work upon. So I go back to the beginning. I see, okay, we see I play knight h3 in this position. Knight a3 is also really good, and I often play it, but knight h3 often has more tactics involved. For example, bishop a3 here is just completely losing. I don't know all the lines in it, but I know enough to convert it most of the time. Anyways, in this position, knight h6 was the correct defense. So it doesn't recommend. It recommends knight g5, and after knight g5, we'll just see. It does recommend queen g4. Queen takes g4, and it becomes very much like a winning position. After this, it's probably okay. Knight a4, and then you just have. You're going to be able to make this bishop capture several times. If I played the right... Oh, sorry, it was knight a4. There we go. So, that's something definitely to look at. However, I played this move after knight captures. Rook f1 is important, so I'll remember that for next time if I end up playing it. And then, I definitely know this was losing because I got very lucky, because I played this hoping, because most people would capture this knight, because then it like pins my king. However, this move was completely winning, because after g takes, I was thinking this, and now my knight can't move, because then my bishop's stopped, and if I try something like this, then you just give up the bishop, and now it's the bishop is a loose cannon once again. However, I thought moving my king up like this, first of all, he's not going to capture my king anymore, and second of all, that's not easy to see. So anyways, we continued with this, and then I actually had a really nice move. So this, if you want to pause the video and try to find it yourself, go ahead. But in this position, oh, I guess you can see all these. I didn't even notice that. In this position, I played the incredible, for those who know what I'm talking about, the absolutely insane rook e1. I think that's just fantastic. And now you can see this is just completely winning. So yeah, that was game 2. So now I move on to game 3. I might eventually skip ahead in some games. This game looks like I certainly blundered a lot, but it's alright. So average center pawn loss of 72. It's better. Certainly the opening doesn't help. I played knight here. Maybe something like g6 was good. Oh wait, I forgot queen h5. Rook a8 could just be good. It's just nice and easy. Queen c7 could be good. Okay, so it threatens to double the pawns. If this knight moved, then I take on h2. If takes the king here, then I recapture with the knight captures. Rook g8 takes, and g5. Because okay, I see this now. Because that was my main worry, was the king. So now I come to this position. I'm definitely winning. It says d5 is not the strongest move. I'm just worried about bishop promotion, so I wanted to get this onto a nice square. Maybe something like this, I guess. Okay, so it says that's good. Anyways, I'll look back at the game now. So we see a Liardet. We see this again, but instead we have the rook capture first. I missed bishop b7, which is kind of a drag. That would have been nice to see at the time. Bishop takes. If we see rook takes, bishop takes, then we just, I don't know. This is kind of cool because that, and captures here. I capture with the rook, I'm assuming, yeah, and then I can bring my bishop out to like f3. Okay, so that's actually really good to know. This is why we analyze the games. I played king captures. I think I played it because I was afraid. I didn't know what to do with my bishop immediately. Bishop h4 looks fine. Bishop f8 is also Bishop f8 is also good. I was just afraid because after this I would have two attackers down here, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just I was looking to avoid it. But anyways, rook to b8 and capture the c pawn. Knight c3, I had queen c7, but I played this move. Not terrible. My opponent's got to find something like really strong, something like this, but it's not easy to find. In this position, I just captured there. Move my king out of the way because my bishop's safe on this diagonal. We have these captures, gives up the knight. And in this position, I'm basically the idea is my pawn. Sorry, this pawn threatens my queen. Obviously, if I don't move my queen, I'm done for. And it's just about finding a good spot for your queen. I like to keep my queen because it's a very strong piece. So something like this, although like the computer may say it's strong, and although you're giving up your piece, I play queen b8 just because there's no way to give it up. I cut down this diagonal very nicely. After my opponent gives this up, I can just advance my pawn. So yeah. So in this position, I knew this move wasn't losing after I checked it for a bit, but I also didn't mean to play it like immediately because I knew it wasn't losing, but I didn't think it was like crazy strong. However, because my opponent doesn't have to give up the king, but I guess knowing I'm playing against a 1500, my opponent's probably going to give up the king. But I actually forgot that my rook was there when I went to play this move. So it turned out okay. The problem is you can't sacrifice your king and all the pawns at the same time. So after king f2, it's just mate for me. So anyways, goes down with this pawn. So d4 is not recommended. I would really like to see why. Okay. So the problem with king promotion I found was then I could just push this pawn, maybe. It recommends king h7. I push the pawn again. King h6. I promote to rook. And then I just keep my rooks on these files, and then I can push this pawn, and it's completely winning for me. So I still think this is like this d4 move was fine. I'm happy with it. But anyways, that's that game. Let's go on to game 4. I might just stop requesting computer analysis and just do my own analysis. This will be the last game I'll do it for, I guess, unless like I really feel like I need to. So if we look at this graph, 21 average Cinnapon loss, that means it was probably a pretty good game. Learn from my mistakes. The only thing, it's suggesting this. I actually studied this line not too long ago, so I feel really comfortable against it. However, I will show you what to do if there is a line that you need to study more. So basically, I've been studying this Nagorko defense quite a bit because I had been seeing it more and more in arenas. So I know this is correct. After knight c6, this capture, b4 is just super strong. When the knight goes back, I give up the bishop. I don't know if that's completely correct. But then after this g4 move, I'm completely winning because there's nowhere this knight can go. And so yeah, this is just it. That's nice. Anyways, I will return my next game, and I'm not going to go through computer analysis this time. I'm just going to go through my analysis. I'll try to find when. So for example, I really like this position. It feels a lot like the Polish. This knight is trapped, and most people play knight f8, which I actually know really well. So knight f8. And in this position, I'm attacking the king. If we open up Stockfish actually for a second, it's not terrible for black. It suggests something like knight e7, in which I would just take here. It also suggests king d7, again, which I would just take the king, and it looks really good for me. Bishop d7 is actually pretty strong. Most people don't play it. The main moves in this position people play are bishop a6 and rook to b8. Rook b8 is completely winning for white, and bishop a6 is extremely winning for white. So anyways, let's go into it. Bishop a6, I capture. And then basically what I always do here is I give up those pieces. If this pawn is ever advanced, I've got a3, and then I can set up for several captures down here. So I move my knight, I develop my pieces, and I'm going to try to find it here. This is a move that I would like to find again. This is completely losing. I'm assuming it's going to be king, without even looking. I know that's up there, but I'm not even looking there. King d3, and then something about opening up this rook, so maybe king d3, knight takes, knight here. If we see a capture here, I can move my knight here. If then the capture down here, I recapture, and then this rook is opened up, and otherwise, if it captures here, then I just move my knight there. It has to capture. The importance right here is the fact that when I move here, so say we have this right here, the importance of this is that when I move my knight here and they capture, that I can capture back, because if I don't have to capture back, then I would have to capture down here, and then I'm lost now. So that's the important part. I find that, and I know the game now. Knight takes, knight g3, and then now I can just keep pushing all these pawns. So that's that game. So now I move on to the next game. I'll do this one in particular because I was really proud with it. I'm going to do a computer analysis here. The reason I'm really proud of it is because for a while I've been trying to solve NC3 because I was always told, oh yeah, a really strong anti-chess player can solve knight c3 in their head, and so of course I want to do that. I also want to be able to solve knight f3 in my head eventually. They're both about mate in 26 or mate in 30 or something like that. And so it's not an easy challenge, but just maybe once or twice a week I'll review some theory. But anyways, we look at this. I still had 3 mistakes, but I'm sure they're not mistakes. Or if they are, then I just screwed something up, but I obviously got back on track. So anyways, let's take a look at it. So this is all main line. This player, by the way, Juice, is an insane knight c3 player. Like, obviously 2100 playing knight c3 is nothing, is pretty crazy. So here's where I go off. On knight take, I always, oh wait, was it knight takes e2 that I had studied? I think so. Okay, let's check. Let's see what happens with king c2. King c2 takes, e6, take. Oh wait, no, I don't take there. I take back here. So obviously king is definitely winning. I think knight takes e2. I did play it correctly. I'm just gonna go a little deeper here. I played f5. I think f5 is the strongest move. It called f5 a mistake, but as you can see, this is why Stockfish isn't always the greatest. I called that a mistake, but I think I played it perfectly. So f5, bishop takes, knight here, and let's see where we are in the game. And again, it calls this a really good move. It calls rook takes f2 a mistake again, but it's definitely the strongest move. So take, and then I played e6. I'm generally familiar with e6, king d8 as a main thing. King f7 it's saying was faster. But okay, e6. Moving the king over. I move my king over now. The thing I've always got to be aware about is something like this. So for example, c3, and now I've got bishop f8 here. And now there's nothing. If I'm allowed to do that, then I can set up all these captures. Otherwise, I got 2 pieces isling down here, which eventually the bishop will have to recapture, and then I've got all this, maybe something like that, and then it's completely winning. In this case, queen g3 trying to mess me up. I move my king, move my rook, and now I just am completely won. So, good game. Definitely something I should look at here is after e6. If my opponent just keeps moving the king back and forth, I don't know if I would be. And knight e4 here is the big move. Threatening both of these pieces, that's something I gotta look out for sure. But anyways, so that's that game. Now I'm going to go into this game against Arun because I'm going to skip a couple. I don't know what I'm at for time. I'm already 24 minutes in. So I'm gonna replay one that I've lost just to show you what that's like, because maybe there's different things that maybe there's different ways that I made my position worse, different ways that or maybe I just outright blundered. I remember this game now because the special h3 move. I definitely need to look into that. So just waiting for this. Anyways, this brings up a good time for me to talk about what to use other than Stockfish. For me, I haven't gone to use this a ton, but Arimikat's book has a lot of really good sort of opening and mid-game lines, and so if I ever want to do something like this, or if I ever really want to study through my games, find better openings, if I see something that I've never seen before, I always go back to this. This is a good idea. Another one that I will go to in a second is Tolius's website. It's really good. It's what I've been using to improve my game. Anyways, here it is. It's still not a terrible average semi-pawn loss. Runes is just amazing. B6 obviously is the move that I always play, but E6. In this position, E6 was not good. Maybe something like Rook B8 is just good because it opens up the rook. I guess not. Can't imagine that's good, but maybe it is. Okay, it is. I was worried about. Okay, so this is fine. And then bishop takes e2, king takes, rook takes, and now there. So a4 is a bad move here. I can see why now, but a little too late maybe. I give away the bishop, so that was just a bad position for me in any case. The worst move, so actually it's mate for white here, I didn't even recognize that. But, so really, e6 is my terrible move. So queen c7 should be here. And that's a good thing to know, but is there any better move before that? So in this position against h3, I played c5, in which c5 is a decent move. Replied with c3. These positions are always a little confusing, but I feel fairly good with them. That's a good move, that's a good move. We're just developing. That's a fine move. Everything's all good. D6 is the important move. So that's what I made the mistake on. I know for next time, okay, D6, if I ever get that position again. I did everything else fine. And I'll just go through one more. Let's go through Arun's other game. Because it's against A4. A4 is a tough one to study, because again, a lot of people don't know. Like, there's not a ton of A4 theory. The people who play A4 a lot, like Arun, are almost impossible to beat. But there's some ways that you can get around it. One way is by playing, because there's no super like main line in A4, you can play something from Arima's book. You can play something that Stockfish gives you maybe. In particular, I just play something that feels natural. As you can see, 32 average semi-pawn loss is very strong. So I played b6 off the beginning. It doesn't like it. Probably likes. Okay, no, it likes b5. Stockfish really likes this line right here. Bishop takes and then rook takes, I think. It's okay for me. It's just I feel like a4 players just know it way better than me. And so I played b6 just because why not? In this position I played b5. It does not like b5. Maybe it likes this. Okay. Yeah, it's just, this is a fine position. We see something like this, we can always just play bishop takes. Anyways, this is the final position where I made a third mistake, so all within my first three moves were all mistakes. But then after that I played a perfect game. So in this position, maybe it likes, okay, it likes e6 again. I like d6. I don't think d6 is a bad move. It sort of forces b6. It sort of forces b6 and then oftentimes g4. But anyways, that's it for that part. So now we look at it. The reason I like b6 is because maybe it transverses into a Liardet. Some a4 players will play e6 after this, and then it's just the wing attack of the Liardet. And so I go like this, and then bishop a6 is okay, but it's not that good. You gotta play like rook a3, knight captures, and then we go into this really long line, or like this. So yeah, that's that move. Now look at the actual game. Oh, I accidentally did that. G4, bishop takes, knight ahead, bishop takes e2, knight takes, and now this just looks winning for me. I took down here. Let's look at the reasons why not to take anywhere else. If I take here, the king takes f1, rook takes, I guess I can. Oh wait, I can play that. Queen c8 is fine. Um, yeah, Queen c8 is actually the strongest move. I mouse slipped. I was thinking something like this, and then maybe I can play e4 eventually, or sorry, e5. Um, so that's fine. If I play rook takes, then all they have to do is like capture. I guess bishop takes isn't good, but either of these captures, I have to come down and take this rook. And so, anyways, after I capture here, I capture on d1. Now the queen can't come out. I capture here, and now not only is this rook out, but also this bishop's open on this diagonal. So I play queen c7, takes, knight a6, takes, b5 takes, and now I got both bishop and rook lined up. I play h6, it gives me a little bit of space. Bishop takes, I think I played rook h7, yeah. Bishop takes, and now the special move here, d5. This makes white only have one capture, and after g5 again, two different captures, but both on my only really strong defensive piece. So here, bishop takes, and then I just play bishop g7. Takes h5, and then I can advance these pawns. And another example of why Stockfish isn't great. It's mate in 3 no matter what, but it calls this a mistake or a blunder or something like that. So it's whatever, but that's one thing. Anyways, that comes to the end of sort of these games. I ended up doing really well actually. Nice performance. I only had a berserk rate of 6%. The one game was against knight c3 because I just really want to see can I beat knight c3 no matter what. However, this brings me to my next thing. This is Tullius's app. Once again, I only suggest using this when you're outside a tournament or anything, but it has some really good ideas. For example, there's two things. I actually wasn't able to show it. There are games in here in which I played it. But I've been doing a lot of study on a particular line. It doesn't give all of them because, of course, mate in 100. How are you going to include that on a computer every time? I've been studying a lot of this knight defense. I've been studying both the Nogorko and the two knights defense because I see them played. Like probably I didn't get through all these, but I would say out of these 16 games, if I'm white for 8 games. Then probably 4 or 5 out of those 8 games I see one of these two defenses. So I've been really studying a lot of those. So I can go through this a lot. In particular, actually maybe I should study one more game. Might have been this game. Yes, it was this game. My studying actually really paid off. If we take a look at it, we have e3, b5, two knights defense. E4 is the strongest move, knight f5. And after f6, this move loses. Actually, sorry, I played b5 first. This move loses, which actually happened in a previous game. I won't show it today, though. Other than that, these are the two strongest moves, and I've been studying those a lot. h5, queen takes, rook takes. There's only 2 legal moves in this position, or I guess 2 okay moves in this position. This is definitely the strongest. Reason being is most times black will play something like this, or they'll play something like g6, knight here. The bishop has to, the bishop has to come down and take. The rook has to come down. Sorry, the queen has to come down and take. My pawn's here, but it's actually completely winning for white. Sometimes a long endgame, but I'm happy to try to play long endgames against people. And so yeah, g6 takes. We had bishop g7 here, but this is completely winning for me because after knight g5, this opens up this bishop. So that was that. I wonder if there was another game that I can look at. Maybe this game. Yes. So we had the same opening here. This time with e6, bishop takes, and the special move here is g4. Reason being is if queen takes down here, then my queen captures the bishop stuck down here, and if the queen captures here, then my queen captures back. Once again, the bishop is stuck down here. So that's that. And the reason I know this is because of this anti-chess thing. E4 is the strongest move here, and then it gives all these different moves and how to counter it. It's very helpful. Once again, though, I wouldn't use this other than for when you're studying for your games. Although it is good, it also takes out the part where you're trying to look for moves. It immediately just gives you a move. It doesn't provide any thought. It won't advance your game at all if you only use this every time. Um, but yeah, it also has embedded lichess in here, so you can also look on lichess. You can turn on Stockfish if you really want. See, or you can even pull up the table base, which is another good thing to use when studying because it shows what the most common moves are. For example, in here, 1,500 games. I'm sure there's actually way more, but it says here 1,500 games knight g4 is played, 950 knight f5 was played, and all the others have been played 100 times or less. And so yeah, so that's something I use. This is something I use. This is something I use. And I think overall studying your games, I think if you spend the same amount of time studying your games as you spend playing, although it doesn't sound very fun, it will massively increase your anti-chess knowledge. And your gameplay. And this is sort of how I did it. This is how a lot of people help. So yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching. This was part 6 in the series. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you again soon. Please subscribe, like, share, do all that cool stuff. And otherwise, I will see you later.